Well, got another snow day. Loving it.
Got it too. Yeah, our Hayden was out of school again yesterday. I'm like, just perfect. You're out for 2 weeks for spring break. You got next Monday off. Why not just let him out of school Monday and Tuesday? But thank goodness he's back today. He needs the school. He needs the structure. And we need some space. So he is back at school today. We didn't get more snow like you did, but I think we're going to get a little bit more tonight. And then it's going to get straight up frigid here for the next 3 to 4 days. Highs in the low single digits and lows in the negatives. So that ought to be fun, but that's part of it. I know a lot of athletes are having that. They're having to make the decision to go be inside or outside or bundle up or hit the treadmill. And, I'm just not ready for treadmill. I did it earlier this week, but I'm going to try to get out there today because I think the greenways are cleared off. So I might just get out there and do that today so I can avoid another day of the treadmill because I got to keep those few and far between. But yeah, it's sun's out. There's still some snow on the ground, but it's all good. It is January 11th, the year. It's now 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody. You listen to the Crushing Iron podcast, and this is episode 741.
Yeah, it is, man. And we're almost 3/4 of the way to retirement.
See, yeah, that's a good way to look at it, right? We got to hit 750.
Yeah, 750 will be 3/4 of the way. Wow.
That's when we hit tenure, right?
Okay,
you can just do
tenure.
whatever you want because you're not going to get fired. We'll get the
wind.
union involved, and if you guys try to vote us out of the podcast universe, we'll just file a claim with the union. We'll go on strike. Not that the 9 of you would probably care, but that's just know that it's out there. Know that threat is real.
Is that our 750's tenure?
Sure, why not?
All right.
I think we've already got it, but yeah, that sounds. I'm not even sure what tenure really is. I just know that my mom always talked about it when she was a principal. Was that usually teachers with tenure, they get they've been there for 20, 25 plus years. They just mail it in. They can't. Yeah. It's basically impossible. At least at her school, it's basically at private schools. It's impossible to get rid of them. Impossible. And so yeah,
that's when they all do research. I feel like. They don't teach anymore. They just
sabbatical and go to Greece for a semester to further educate themselves, and then they come back and they're like, yeah, had a good time. Here's a few selfies, and yeah, had a great time.
Maybe that's what we should do is go back, go to Kona and study the origins or actually San Diego and study the origins of triathlon for 2 years.
There you go. I could do that. I'm not sure if I could live in California for 2 years, but
yeah.
You wouldn't make it a week, but I digress. The weather's perfect, and it's got water and sand and snow, but still, I'm good where I'm at, right here in the middle of the Midwest. But yeah, if you're first time tuning in today, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options from the Triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. Time is valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what you're going through and what we're going through in life, and not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level triathletes in the very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everyone in between from all over the globe. And we use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also like to utilize our Facebook group. We'll do that next week. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. And simple question. We'll let you right in. Awesome people. Fantastic community, solid resource in a sport that is oftentimes way overcomplicated and way too confusing. It's a solid space to get actionable information from seasoned veterans, and I promise it will help you avoid some of the more common pitfalls we see. And we go in there at least once a month, if not every 4 to 6 weeks, and we're definitely due for once. We'll do one next week and do a bit of a Q&A, take the pulse of the community, answer as many questions as we can. But that is it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads. But we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
I thought for sure I was going to see a Q&A in the Facebook group from you today.
No, I got in the work. I meant to do it. It was in my notes, and I got not distracted. I continued to stay in the zone this morning with work, and I was just in a really good groove, and just totally missed it. I was a little flushed this morning because, Hayden, he never shuts his mouth. He's always got something. And he always starts his sentence with dad. Never just, I mean, I could be the only one in the room. Hey, dad, this. Hey, dad. Hey, dad. Dad. Hey, dad. Dad.
Ooh, it's disarming.
Dad. I'm like, it doesn't sound that great after a while. And this morning he was just peppering me. Dad, what's this mean? What about this? What about this? What about that? Did you know this? I'm like, you know what I would like? And I finally looked at, he finally asked, he goes, Dad. And I kind of gave him the look and he goes, okay, I'll stop. I'm like, yeah, dude, give me a break. Go sit down on the couch and zone out for a minute. He got school today. But yeah, I was in the zone trying to get Training Peaks done and do some stuff for next week, but I forgot. Yeah, we're definitely due. So we'll pop in there next week. You always get a lot of questions at the beginning of the year. People have had time to marinate through, November,
Literally.
December, and the start of the year. They got their race calendar probably set. They're thinking about doing different races, going long, going short, getting faster, being stronger. They're doing different races they've never heard about or that they haven't done before. And there's new equipment, there's new platforms, there's new, there's all kinds of different things.
There's new equipment.
There's always new equipment. That's like triathlon. It's like, fourth sport, not nutrition, but equipment. What can I research and spend my time on when I should be out running, riding, and swimming, and put it on researching the latest and greatest visor to put over my helmet. That's probably not going to save me any time.
I got some new equipment.
But what I do, you could use a few.
I got some.
Oh, you did? What'd you upgrade to? And what? Okay, let me guess. Have you upgraded your aero helmet?
No.
Let me rephrase. Have you gotten an aero helmet? Because the one you have is not.
You told me to get that years ago. I got it
7 years ago when we did Louisville when it was in August. Yeah, like it was yesterday. And because I had one too. I
painted it. Yeah. Painted a few times. No, I got a new helmet this year. I rode it. No, yeah, I didn't. I actually rode the old one.
Road. Yeah, I saw the new road helmet. But what did you get some? Was Santa good to you? What you got?
No. Yeah, well, yeah, kind of. We got some new. They're like strap-on snowshoes that you can run in.
So you got strap-ons for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
I had somebody this morning.
I know that sounded weird, but that's what it is. What's that?
You should have let that linger for a minute. There's always the people that post like with a ... You should have gave them the ... for that. You should have gone, yeah, well, for Christmas I got some strap-on snowshoes. And yeah, I had an athlete this morning actually in Wisconsin, Brandon. He went out and did a snowshoe. What do you call that? Just snowshoeing? But he said it did this today, the last 2 days for instead of his like short runs, he went out and did some snowshoeing. All right, so that's new equipment. What else you get?
Well, no. But these are they're kind of flexible and light, and you can you just run in them. They're like the the ones that you kind of strap around, but they're bigger. They're just a little. They have a little more base
like
to them.
Legit snowshoes.
Like we have those too, but
like wakeboards. You're talking about ones like you like actually put around your regular shoes, like you put chains around the wheel of a truck.
Pretty much, yeah. And they're a little more sophisticated than I have the ones where you can. They're like rubber pieces, and you stretch them out around the shoe, and there's spikes on them.
Yeah, I got those.
Those
too.
are good, but these are They're not huge. They're manageable enough to run in.
So question, because I've been considering this the last day or two. Do you use those on your regular run shoes, or would you put those on trail shoes for additional grip?
Well, I put them on trail shoes just because they're the ones that get like beat up the most. But I don't think you need it because it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think the grip would matter because these are grippy. You can these have like little spike bolts on them too. That you can probably run on ice really well with them.
All right. What else you get? Anything actual like fun and exciting?
That's it.
All right. So no upgrades is what I heard.
Oh, no way. There's no way. I go way back, man.
I know you do.
I don't upgrade until I prove to myself that I need an upgrade. It's that simple.
Yeah. Listen, I know. I'm right there with you. I never want to.
No, you're not. You like upgrading.
I like upgrades,
you
but
get new shit all the time.
I'm all about watch upgrades.
Watch upgrades?
Yeah, I'm a watch guy.
If you went into Training Peaks and looked at my Training Peaks right now, all you would see is sauna. But I've been tracking it on my Garmin.
Oh, all right. Look at you.
Plunge sauna. No, I mean, there's some other stuff in there, but anybody looked at my training peaks, it'd be like, I think it probably shows as other or something, but.
Yeah, I think it probably does too.
Yeah, but the Christmas presents for me were like the cold plunge tank and no racing gear.
They're light upgrades, like wellness upgrades.
I literally bought some knee-high Hanes white socks at Dollar General. Does that count?
Wow,
man, they hit the spot though. I thought it was kind of silly at the time, but they were only about $7 for 6 of them. And I love them, man. They're my go-to right now.
Anyway, what I'm trying to do is picture all 4 listeners that we still have for today's podcast and what they're actually doing right now. They're on their bike and they're on the treadmill. They're out for a run. They're in their car, and how many times they've either shaken their head, probably given a courtesy laugh, and then reached ever so gently for the skip button or for the stop button. And there's like, you know what? They do this sometimes. And then they get into a really good flow. And you know what? Let's get into our flow. So we do have a topic today. We got a little bit distracted with the knee highs and strap-ons, but I'll get us more focused. But we were talking before the cast about, and we talked about obviously the last few weeks have been, everyone's ready for the new year. We've gone less on the technical approach, but more on the emotional, mental side of training. Because again, like there's the physiology and the training and the specifics of, swim, bike, and run stuff. We've gone over those a lot, and we'll go over those again here pretty soon. I've got a couple ideas for us for February to refocus on that. But the beginning of the year, it's easy to dial in on the training, but it's hard to really, temper yourself for the, not expectations, but to pace yourself throughout the year. And we have, I think, quite a few podcasts and, titled Minimal Effective Dose. And we get, with every athlete we work with, that's the number one goal, right? Is to find how little we can do to get the maximum out of you, right? If 45 minutes is good enough, why give you 60, right? If a 3-hour ride on this day is good enough, why give you 6? If we don't need to do ridiculous 1.5-hour brick runs, why would we, right? And we go through these cycles with newer athletes, especially as they're getting into, most of the time it's in like 70.3s, fulls, or marathons when they start to need a little bit of a confidence boost. Like, hey, can we do some of these really, really, really long, I need to get a 20-25 miler in just to know. And like, just to know what? That you're not ready for it yet, and then you're going to feel destroyed for a week, and you're going to lose a whole week of training just to, stroke your ego and fill up your confidence bucket? Or how many centuries do I need to do for a full? Or, how many, half marathon bricks do I need to do? Or, when do I need to I need 5 20-milers for my marathon that's coming up. Like, no, you don't. Like, that you need the least amount of work to get the maximum result. And then that's not about doing less work. It's about doing the right amount of work. And you and I both know from working with athletes for so long is that one of the hardest things to do, and one of the, I think the top 2, if you go down like the roles and responsibilities of a coach, one is to, help an athlete manage their global stress and decision making, right? Like, when to not do things, when to do things, lower their volume to allow for extra stress in life and kind of be a sounding board. But the other one, and number 2, would be just to get people out of their own way. To stop absolutely annihilating themselves in training, going hard every day, going long every day. Longer is better, harder is better. And they wonder why they're stale in their, we talked about a little bit earlier this week, but it brought up, before we went live today, I was talking about one of the things the book that I've been reading, and I loved this, these 2 lines. He says, temperance, C.S. Lewis reminds us, about going to the right length and no further. And then the other one that I immediately thought of triathletes and endurance athletes. And another guy said, by the standard of pleasure, nothing is more pleasant than self-control, and nothing is more painful than lack of self-control. And obviously they were talking about, how we will go out and people who were, overindulge, whether it's food or alcohol or spending. It might feel good in the moment, but then the next day you immediately regret it. Immediately. And that there was really no greater pleasure, right, than to have self-control, than to wake up the next day and feel healthy get lots of sleep, not feel, overly full, not have a carb crash or a sugar crash or be hungover or, know you fueled your body with trash or not having gone out and crushed yourself in a run. Like these are these small little micro decisions we deal with as coaches on a day-to-day basis, right? I just mentioned yesterday to an athlete who I commented on their Training Peaks on a Monday and then they woke up on a Tuesday, decided to skip the workout before I saw it and did yoga instead. And I immediately said to them, we've only been working together for 8 weeks. And I said, this is the best workout you've done since we started together. Because you chose discipline and self-control over, and they've got an early season 70.3. They've got Puerto Rico. So it's not like we're, dealing with the Wisconsin here in September or Arizona. This is not that far away. And she just said, I didn't feel like my legs were going to start. And she said, I've probably been ignoring some of my own signs and I really want to get the work done. But I just thought today was good to take a day off. And I was like, absolutely best thing you could possibly done. And then we got back on track today with the nice, strong, big gear workout. She's like, I felt so much better today. I'm like, yes, like that was the best decision you could have possibly made. Self-control, right? But what you see so often as a coach is you see lack of self-control, right? And you see this a lot with athletes who fail to communicate or who don't really want to recognize what feels like what, right? And you and I, especially in the beginning of the podcast, the first hundreds of episodes we talk a ton about, and still do, about understanding your body and going by effort, right? And understanding what feels like what and what's supposed to feel okay and what's not supposed to feel okay. Like what's zone 1 supposed to feel like, what's zone 5 supposed to be like, what's zone 3 supposed to feel like. No effort, no RPE, because now what you see is athletes that hop into the sport, they're immediately swarmed with and purchase 9 different gadgets, right? Power meter on the bike, power meter on the swim, form goggles, GPS, bike trainer, software on your bike. You got your foot pods, power on your shoes, HRV. And they got everything you possibly imagine. It's like 17 different data points, and they have no idea how to filter them and how to maximize like the information. But they're totally detached from what's supposed to be like that. They're just too focused on getting the work done, making sure you have the numbers, and that's all that matters. Like, no, that's not all that matters, because no coach is perfect, no program is perfect, right? You, the athlete, have to understand this. And what, as most coaches find, you don't really recognize in the moment, like an athlete's lack of self-control until about 2 or 3 days later. Because athletes, and I say this in almost every single time I talk with an athlete for the first time. Well, what do you want to know about this? I'm like, you know what? We can talk again after you've done some training, because what I've found in my 12 plus years of coaching is there's one thing that athletes do, and it's they lie. Athletes lie almost every day. Yeah, I can probably handle, I don't know, 15, 16 hours. Give it to me. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be coached. And then you put in like 10 to 12 and they get in 7. And you're like, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, maybe overcommitted in the hours. Maybe this is more appropriate. Or, yeah, I can probably start out with this run, and you see in their Garmin uploads, they've only ran twice in the last 4 weeks, and they're like, yeah, I can probably start with an hour. Easy. No, like we had this, it's like we're trying to prove something to our ego or prove something to a coach or to someone else that we can do more, right? And that more is always the answer, and it's not, right? It's like, I had this conversation myself last night. I was reading before bed, which is, again, not like me, but I'm in a good groove, and I was seeing the signs of being tired, and I was like, I could read another chapter, but would I retain any of the information? Would I have to reread it tomorrow? And I was honestly afraid to lose that like sleepy feeling. Because like, what if this, you know what I'm talking about? Like, what if this next chapter like amps me up?
That.
And I'm like, damn it, I missed it. I missed my sleep window. And so I read like 3 sentences of the next chapter because the title got me, and it was called Silence is Strength. And I read the first. I was like, nope, can't do it. Shut, book shut, lights off, go to bed. And I was just like, there you go, self-control. Not wanting to give in. Not that reading is like this thing you can overindulge in, but sleeping is important. And it's just a great topic, I think, and for athletes, especially that, might be self-coach or working off of a plan, which again is, I think, so hard to do without having somebody being there on like, your good shoulder, because that's what it is. Like every athlete has the devil on one shoulder, and most athletes, honestly, they need either a consultant or a coach on the other shoulder to get them out of their own way, because most athletes speak 90% of the time to the devil on the shoulder. Do more. Go harder. Right? Don't skip today. I know you feel like trash and we slipped the hours, but you can't miss this. If you miss this, you'll be behind. Did you see what the guys are doing in the Facebook group that are doing Arizona in November? They're already doing 5-hour rides, an hour and a half bricks. You're going to get smoked, right? Did you see the guys doing the marathons in May? They've already done 4 25-milers. That's what it looks like.
25-milers.
Yeah, they're like, oh, why are you in the athlete devil in the shores? Like, why are you swimming so much? The swim doesn't even matter. It's the shortest part of the event. Go on there and swim 2K straight and just get out of the water and go. Like, that's why you need a coach on the shoulder to get you back in the right position. Or you had a really shitty day at work, right? And you had an argument with a friend or a spouse or a coworker, or something stressful happens, and your first inclination isn't, you know what I think I need? I think I need to just an easy aerobic run to just clear my head and get back to baseline. No, you think, I'm going to fucking hammer it today. I am going to take out all this frustration on no one else but me and my body. And then I'm going to immediately regret it for what it's going to do to me tomorrow. Right? You did that to yourself, and tomorrow you're going to regret it. And you're going to feel worse instead of doing something to make you feel better. So I immediately thought of athletes and obviously like plenty of athletes that I coach and like consistently have to say like, no, get out of your own way. No, do this. Or when I give them an off day, I don't just say off day. I say off day and don't argue with me, because I know exactly what they say. I don't need a coach, because they see it as a reprimand. Oh, I can't handle it. No, it's not about can't. It's about we want you to be able to handle everything. And sometimes that means taking it easy, cutting it short, or taking a day off.
I'm still back at that 25-mile run.
That's true.
Stop there because no, but as we've talked about many times, doing hard things is good. It's really good. I just think that at least even with me, you got to be mindful about the hard work, in a sense of, what's hard is running hard. Yes. I feel like that feels like the hardest thing sometimes. So we do that and we want to, stretch that out and take it further. But, to be mindful about what we're doing. I was thinking about this, zone 2 in running is often zone 3 by feel for me. Let's just use me. I think I'm doing zone 2, but I'm in zone 3 a lot. Right at the bottom of it, just kind of like creeping into the mid zone 3 and thinking and acting like it's zone 2. And it's harder than it should be, probably, for that reason. The hard part of that is keeping it in zone 2. You know what I mean? So like I guess what I'm getting at is it mentally tough. You talked about somebody who did yoga, right? For me, it's the hamstrings that have bothered me all the time. So what do the natural inclination for me is just to go longer and build up strength or whatever. But I don't think that's really the problem, as I figured out it's my piriformis nerve or something, maybe. But anyway, the point is to work on getting that freed up so I can be actually a better athlete. I talk to athletes about this all the time. It's like you're doing that zone 2 run in zone 3, but are you, everybody wants to get faster. And I think it's got a lot to do with mobility and being flexible and having good core strength and posture and things like that. We just kind of mindlessly slog along in running or whatever we're doing. But the next thing I want to say is about cycling. My zone 2 in cycling often becomes zone 1. It's just sort of a chill recovery ride or whatever. I don't explore zone 2, or at least the top of it, enough, that aerobic threshold part of it. And then in swimming, zone 2 for me becomes zone 4. It's like, I think that it's really important to work on things we're not good at, and that's how we get better. So like going back to like the or the marathon we did at Run Camp, for example, we talked about it. Neither one of us had any business running a full marathon, especially after doing a half the day before. And it was certainly painful. But like, I look at stuff like that and go, okay, we just ran whatever that is in 2 days and off a long run the months before of maybe 5 or 6 miles.
Mm.
What part of we have to run 25 miles to train for a marathon is not, not computing with us? Because we have these, I think most people are way more capable than they think they are, first of all. And that point is always there about the confidence. I got to go long. I got to make sure I can do it. But you can do it, and you should be working on things that are hard, like you did, like going to sleep instead of reading more. And it's an interesting example because, like you said, it's tough to overread, I think, sometimes, but it happens. I mean, it's sort of that discipline right there. I mean, that's a discipline, kind of a crazy, weird, niche discipline thing, but it's there because you need the sleep. And I've been there too. The next thing you know, you're reading, you hit a second wind and you're reading till 2 a.m. Like that, that's dicey because you're also reading a lot of shit. And are you even remembering it?
Right.
That's one thing I've really been kind of excited about with this Learn thing I'm doing is that I've been reading these books and I'm just taking notes. I'm biting off minimal effective dose. I could read the whole book in 2 days probably if I just hammered away, but how much would I even remember? At what point does it just become wasting time to go long? Or, instead of actually trying to get better posture, working on form and things like this. I mean, running with good form, that alone is difficult to work on that. I've been trying to do that more and more. There's just high knees, just that perfect posture and, all that stuff. And it's hard, but if I was out of posture, I could slog my way through, 10 more miles probably. But what good is that? I think that's the thing we got to look at is like, at what point does it become diminishing marginal returns? I think we face that all. That's a business term that I learned. One of the few things I remember about college, but at some point you're putting way too much effort into something that's not giving you anything back. And to me, that's the hard part, is to sort of decipher when that moment is. And like you said, or whoever that was, who was that quote by?
That was C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. I mean, who knows more than C.S. Lewis, really? But it makes sense. The ability to stop.
What I think is so important for athletes specifically when they look at their own training, or they're not coached, they're working off a plan, is I think it's hard for them to know and wrap their brain around why, is it even okay to stop? Because if I do stop, then is tomorrow even tomorrow? Because I didn't do what I needed to do today. Right? Because it's a concrete, it's not dynamic, right? There's no changes, there's no adjustments, there's no feedback. And, oftentimes you see the athletes that struggle the most with lack of self-control and that kind of, that objective discipline are ones with extraordinary unhealthy expectations, right? I have to hit this. I have to hit that. And a lot of times they disassociate so much with the intent that they're just trying to chase a number that they don't even know they've overreached until it's too late. I gotta hit this number, right? They're ignoring. I had this conversation with an athlete a couple of days ago. They just said, "Hey, what's your take on, power versus heart rate? What do you go by? I've always done power because power is power." I'm like, well, you're right. It 100% is. Power is power. Like the power you put down is the power that comes out. But I also love and appreciate heart rate because it tells you, right, the actual effect that it's having in your body. And yes, your heart rate is dictated by lack of sleep, right? And too much caffeine or too much stress. And it 100% is. That's also why it's good to combine with pace and power, because now you get to kind of see the output versus what's actually happening to you, right? So you have the load, right, that you want to put on an athlete, right? And then you have the stress that they are under, right? And those could be different, because I could ask you, like, hey, Mike, go out and run, 45 minutes easy. And it could be like in 35-degree weather with sunshine and no wind, right? So I gave you a load. The stress was X, because it came out as it was very easy. Conditions were great. You slept great. Stress is a little bit lower than it would have been. On the next day, I might say, yeah, go out and run those 45-minute aerobic run, and it might be 5 degrees, 30-mile-an-hour winds, and you slept like trash. You're still going to run 45 minutes, right? But I guarantee your heart rate's going to be higher, right? Stress is higher. The effects of you are higher. So the recovery has to be different, right? And it's a really difficult thing. Like, again, when you have so many things to look at, that you don't look at the right ones, or you just don't look at all, right? And when I say you don't look at all, I mean you don't look at yourself. How do I look? How do I feel? Does this feel right? Does it feel like too much? I feel like I just don't have it today. Well, I better just carry on, go big or go home, beat yesterday. Like, no, beat yourself down for tomorrow is what you need to be thinking about. Why am I going to beat myself down for tomorrow? Because most oftentimes your results today are from your decisions yesterday. Links in a chain. We have a podcast called, I think one of our first 100 maybe was even called Links in a Chain, and how everything connects, right? And once you start to overstress things, then you get weaker links in the chain, then the whole thing becomes frail, and then you end up breaking it apart into 4 or 5 different segments of chain instead of the one long one, because everything works and connects together, right? And so you have to, and again, I think it's really, really hard for athletes to make those real-time decisions, right? And to be fair, 80% of the time they say, I know what the answer is, but I need to ask anyway. I've had them text me on a Saturday during a bike ride before. I know the answer to this. What should I do? I'm like, turn the fuck around and go home. Are you even out here today? And I'll give you a great example of total, complete lack of self-control. I had an athlete yesterday morning. I could kind of tell because they're usually pretty chatty in training peaks. Monday, Tuesday, no comments. Wednesday, they hadn't. It was yesterday was Wednesday, so they hadn't worked out yet. I just kind of comment on Tuesdays, hey, everything going okay? Text me, yeah, I'm not really feeling that great. I woke up this morning. I'm on training peaks. What do I see from last night? A run, 15-minute run at 10 p.m. last night.
Is that me?
No, it wasn't you. No, it wasn't you. I was like, why are you running right now? We had this discussion. Well, and they'll comment back. Well, I thought I was feeling a bit better, and now I feel worse. No shit, Sherlock. But that is the perfect example that every triathlete's found themselves in, when they know deep down in their gut they should take tomorrow off, but their ego or their lack of self-confidence, right? Their insecurities get in the way, right? I've got to do it or I'm going to be behind. I've got to do it or I'm going to get slower. I've got to do it or I'm never going to get where I want to be. Well, now I guess what we're doing, taking the day off, probably tomorrow off too. And now we probably prolonged our sickness by a day or two, if not more. Like we get so wrapped up in what we call wins, right? And these great workouts that we can post and tell people out there that give us confidence and make you feel like we're heading in the right direction. A lot of times, some of the best workouts you can do in your biggest cycles of the year are take a day off, do a recovery spin, do an easy swim, go for a walk, cut it short, nip the main set, be done with it. Choose sleep, right? Understand those things. And because a lot of times athletes also often find themselves in this, my mom used to always say, two wrongs don't make a right. And athletes do this all the time, weekly, almost. Well, I really, I really kind of overindulged over the holidays. I'm definitely carrying a bit more weight than I'm used to. So I tried to do this run, fasted, but I haven't eaten yesterday since 3 p.m. And so, it just went really poor. Like, perfect example. Two wrongs don't make a right, right? You it's about slow and steady. It's not about, abrupt, horrible decisions. Or, yeah, I couldn't get my workout done on Wednesday. I was too tired, so I moved it to Thursday. Now I have 3 workouts. Again, 2 wrongs don't make a right? No one said if I thought you were able to do 3 workouts on that day, I'd have given you 3 workouts on that day. But you're not, and your body isn't ready. Plus, if you just say it out loud, I didn't feel that great today, so now I increase tomorrow's load by 33%. That's insanity. The definition of insanity. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Or, I couldn't really go out for, I couldn't get my hour, I missed my hour spin, so I thought I'd do an hour and a half run instead. Excuse me? On no planet is an hour and a half run the same stress level as an hour spin. That doesn't compute, right? So we make all these, and it's not because I don't think they're informed, right? It's not because these athletes don't know what to do. It's because we all struggle in the moment with making the right choice, slowing down long enough to ask ourselves the right questions, and not just about its impact on today, because most athletes, all they care about is getting the workout done today. I'll worry about tomorrow. Yeah, you will. When you wake up with an increased level of soreness and a subpar workout and then a future day off, yeah, you will. But today it feels great. Today I can give in. Today I can make a poor decision. And all things in life. But tomorrow, right? Tomorrow reaps not the reward, but the punishment. You overdo it today, you reap the punishment tomorrow. On the flip side, if you show some self-control or you take it easier, you reap the rewards tomorrow. And it's for some reason, especially with type A, like endurance athletes that, are in the sport for a variety of reasons. And there's so much opportunity for comparison and expectation and analysis and, Facebook groups. It's never been harder, I think, for athletes to just laser focus, turn on the blinders and do their own journey and do their own work. You get sabotaged so much. Like one of the first podcasts we did this year was talking about, when you say yes to other people, you're saying no to yourself. Think about that. When you get closer and closer to your race day and you find yourself trickling into those Ironman Facebook groups and you start to deviate from your plan because some random person that you have no idea who they are, what they're doing, or their athletic, whether they're on their athlete life cycle, or how irresponsible they're being, because you don't know, you probably know as less as, the little amount that they know, because they're obviously making bad decisions, and you deviate because of them. I think it is harder than ever to stay the course and stay on your own path and not get distracted and not, fall to, hacks or workarounds or deviating from what you really know this is right in your gut. The right decision is to cut it short, or that 10 intervals is enough. 15 doesn't make you better. It just strokes your ego for 5 more minutes. That's it. And in fact, it might make things worse tomorrow, because the point was to get this done in this way to benefit you today and complement tomorrow. And it's it's just very, very, very hard, I think, for athletes to do that on their own.
To pull back or recognize it. Now, I want to make a point here, though, that, and I run across this all the time, and I do think that, triathlon, Ironman, whatever, is a large part problem solving. And when we do something like you just explained, go out and, try to relax with an hour and a half run or run late at night, or when we do fuck up like that or whatever we do, just learn from it. I think it's not a bad thing you talk about it sometimes, let it rip, go out and just check and see what's up. I'm not saying these things that we're talking about don't necessarily happen on purpose, though. And when we have a purpose and we go out and figure out a way to get through what's going on, and then realize that we did screw up, and then regroup the next day and don't try to add fuel to the fire, I think that's important, because in racing, you have to be able to figure out ways. And I think the only way we can do that is to go through it. You know what I mean? Like, so there has to be tough moments, and we have to recognize them as tough moments and then decide how we're going to react to that. Because there's always, there's always good in failure if we recognize it. But there's just such a tendency that I see a lot of getting down on ourselves for doing something like that or whatever, and just realize that, hey, maybe that made me a little tougher yesterday. And there's nothing wrong with having toughness in this sport. But just remember that that's not the way to do it. And also just kind of focus on doing things that, like maybe you're not good at getting through those tough moments. Maybe you need to expose yourself a little bit more to that, but just recognize what you're doing rather than turning it into sort of self-deprecation or, kind of self-punishment type shit. Just realize that, hey, I just put my body through something and I just feel absolutely flogged today. And now it's time to be like, okay, I'm okay. I forgive myself or whatever you want to say, but just understand what it is and then get back onto the next path and learn from what just happened rather than wallow in it, because that's what we do too. I mean, and it's easy to wallow when you're destroyed. You know what I mean? It's like, I kind of had that feeling a little bit yesterday after, running in snow and sleet and it wasn't too much, but it definitely wore me down. And, you get that tired brain and you're like doubting yourself or whatever, but figure out what it's going to take to get you back and realize it's not the end of the world, because sometimes we get just caught in those loops that that to me, that's really important. It's just to recognize it for what it is and not judge your whole life on a bad decision like that. Just find something that you can learn from it and remember it. Back to the reading, you can read a whole book about something great, but forget 99% of it. And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
no, I do, because that was the irony of my internal chatter last night. Going to bed was like, okay, reading is good for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying this. It's also a book entitled Discipline is Destiny.
Yeah.
And I also want to show self-control and show discipline. I'm showing the signs of being tired. And I know if I keep reading, I'm going to get more into it. And then I'll probably hit that no, I'm not tired anymore, window. And then I'll get even more into it and then keep making it. And I'm like, damn it, what do I do here? Am I being undisciplined by stopping reading? Or am I being disciplined and showing self-control because I think that, when you say it out loud like that, it's like, oh, no, I'm not, because I'm making the next right choice to benefit the next right choice, which is going to bed and getting quality sleep, because that's going to impact me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, I stayed up and read an hour and enjoyed it, right? But then it might have taken me longer to get to sleep, and I'd have got an hour less sleep, not setting me up for success today, which also leaves me in a more, I think, vulnerable position to be less disciplined. Right? But it was also easy for me because I only made a commitment to read one chapter a day. And they're super easy. They're 4 to 5 pages.
Yeah.
And so that's all I've committed to. So some days I'll read 1, some days I'll read 7. But that small, very low bar allowed me to already feel fulfilled, excuse me. And I already did what I already showed the discipline and commitment to do that. Now it's just, not pleasure seeking, but it kind of was I know I should sleep, which doesn't sound as exciting as keeping reading right now, but I know what's best for me. So I'm making this call. And, I think again, when you're an athlete and you're heading to the pool, or you want to get out early, or and I think some of those, I'm telling you right now, some of those are the best decisions you can make all year. And when you look at, I think I even mentioned this last year, doing a Wisconsin recap for the athletes we had there. And we had, just our whole team, we had a fucking banner of a day with just unbelievable performances and podiums and age group wins. And I remember quite a few of the athletes that had done their final block. I remember going back and after the race, and even the week before the race, being like, hey, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever, when were communicating well and you like, hey, I don't feel that great today. I'm feeling a little bit tired, and we adjusted and took an extra day off or made an easy swim or a spin or took the intensity away. That's why we're where we are. Because it wasn't, and the thing is that athletes look at that as like a hiccup or a bad day, but it's actually not, right? Because the body has to rest and recover to get better. You can't slam yourself every day and get shit sleep and burn it out and go to 100% FTP and do sweet spot intervals 7 days a week and do hill repeats every day and swim your max yard till your arms falls off. You're never going to recover. And if you're never going to recover and you're not going to get enough sleep, then you're never going to get better. Rest, sleep, recovery is how your body adapts. You don't give it that, it doesn't adapt. And so when you look at those days and maybe reframe that as, I am not taking today off, right? I am not, like, I think we talk about this in the summertime a lot. Like, and I was like, yeah, I took the day off and decided to, lay 45 bags of mulch and go sit out on the bleachers for 7 hours and watch my son play baseball in 120-degree heat. Not a day off, right? Not a day off. Like, everybody that's been out shoveling snow yesterday, not a day off, right? Your lower back's probably a little bit sore and your abs probably a little bit sore from working it. And it's like, that's not a day off, right? So instead of looking at it as failing or not, being able to meet standards or whatever negative framework you have around doing less on a day or taking the day off or swapping it out to something easier that makes more sense or getting out early or hopping off the bike early or walking home early, don't frame it as failure. Frame it as, I am choosing to recover earlier so I can be more fit and adapted tomorrow. And if you reframe it that way, then you're actually empowering yourself to make a positive decision versus giving in. I'm not giving in, right? I'm not giving up. I'm not showing weakness. I'm actually I'm empowering myself to be stronger tomorrow. And then I can look forward to tomorrow, not just for a good workout, but also with better strength, right? Better recovery, better legs, right? Lower heart rate. I know those things are really hard to do in the moment, especially if you're, someone that does this alone, because you're chasing miles, you're chasing time, you're chasing intensity, and you're chasing ghosts. So, you find somebody to bounce those ideas off of, or just have that, flip the script, right? And what you're telling yourself in those moments that you're not giving in, you're not choosing failure, you're choosing recovery, right? And you're choosing to put one thing first so you can then do it better tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. Reframe it. And I mean, like I said, if you do that, sometimes I will criticize myself, stopping reading or too many cookies. How do you stop? And sometimes you got to be firm with yourself, I think. But when I'm firm with myself, I'm, sort of separated from myself, if that makes sense.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I will step outside of myself and look at myself in the mirror after I ate too many cookies and call myself a fat ass. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't really take it personally. That's
right.
The thing. It's like, I use it as a tool. And that's what I say is, if you go out and do something that really beats you down and you feel like shit or whatever, it's easy to be like, oh, what a dumbass. But don't really take that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Just say it, and say, you're talking to somebody else, because we are our souls, and we're not, this like whatever meat vessel or whatever they talk about all the time. But like
meat vessel,
yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying. It's we're more soul than just walking around in this suit, but. I don't know. Don't be so hard on yourself personally. I mean, we're so good at scathing ourselves, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to stop. You can use it as constructive criticism and learn from it and move on. It's not you. It's just something that happened. So like you're saying, man, figure it out. Take some rest if you need it, recover, do what happens, and just move on. Don't let that be the lingering thought. Because if it is, you're going to keep repeating that shit. It's just a fact.
Yeah, that reminds me. We can close it out after this, but it reminds me of one of the first things I remember like hearing when I was getting sober. Like the first 2 weeks I was there, that made all the difference in the world to me, because you feel like when you're an alcoholic and you're drinking every day and you've got all these thoughts and feelings and shame and guilt, and I think honestly those two feelings too are actually tied up in a lot of people's overindulgence and hammering themselves out in training, right? They're using other feelings they have, or they're not good enough, or they'll never be good enough, or I'm too fat, or I'm too slow and I've got to work harder. A lot of that's tied up in there. And I remember like, again, like battling through all this like feeling of shame and guilt, and honestly, like these thoughts that I just hated that I had, that I knew weren't right, that I knew weren't me. And this very simply, like I can't remember if it was a guest speaker or my primary therapist, he just looked at me and he said, "You are not your thoughts."
Yeah, that's it right there.
And I was like, damn. I was like, I needed to like I needed to stop penalizing myself for my thoughts. Because then what you do is you act upon them, right? You self, like you said, like I would go out and do stupid shit and drink more and then feel more shame and like talk myself into all these where there's anxiety and he's like, a thought is a thought. It is not an action. A thought is a thought, and you are not your thoughts. And that's still true to this day, right? You are not what you're but if you think it, you might as well do it. I'm like, shit, if that was the case, we'd be in a whole world worse than we are right now if everyone just did what they thought. And, it was just that simple thing is like, because usually those thoughts about ourselves are negative. You can't do this. See, you're giving up. See, you're fat. See, you're slow. See, you can't commit. You said you were going to read more, but look at you. You're calling it in early tonight. Like we have all these, or all these anxiety driven things we've seen by so much that we see in life and that we see as individuals and that we see in social media, that it's a constant filter of like extra things going through like our brain waves, that if we never introduce it, we never really have that thought. But instead, like a thought passes through and it's like, and you see someone and like, oh, what about, maybe that's me. What if I had that? And it's like, no. Like I really wonder how, and I'm not going this route, but I really wonder how everybody would have dealt with the pandemic had there been no news and no newspapers. How much less anxiety, and this isn't even a ball in your court, so don't even try to take a swipe. It's a swipe at it. But I think about, and you and I talked about this a ton during the pandemic, right? When we'd be at the office, just you and I, right? Everything else was closed, but you and I could go in and go to the office because that's a decision that we made. And just think about how much less anxiety people would have over so many things, because all you saw was this, and this. And just how we've just like opened up. Because then you talk about, I'm going to stop. Because then you talk about like, kids on social media and like kids on screens and like the things that we're like letting infiltrate our mind that we are in no way, shape, or form prepared for. And that for a lot of people just isn't their reality. But then it becomes their reality and what their thought every day is. And that's the same again for athletes when they look at other people and they compare things or compare their journey to their own, or how much they're doing or how much they're not doing, or, how fast they're going and how many hours they're putting in a week. I'm like, it's not yours. Limit that stuff. And it really does make it easier, I think, to quiet those things, to quiet those voices in your head. And even to this day, like I don't have nearly as many as I did back in the day, now being this far from being sober, but I definitely don't act on them, but I still have those days where I'm like, that you are not your thoughts. That's it. You are not your thoughts. And I think a lot of that's anxiety for most people. They just attach themselves to a thought and then they just run with it. Then they're just down rabbit holes right and left. And they're like, wait a minute, that's not reality, right? Like the thing my sponsor told me at Dalt's Grill when I was like 2 months sober, or like 6 months sober, he goes, is there anything wrong right now, right here? I said, no. He goes, okay, then what are we worried about? I was like, damn it. He was like this 88-year-old dude. But anyway, I'll cut it out there.
No. You just turned this into a 2-hour podcast, buddy. You bring up the news and I'm in.
I know you are.
No, but seriously, yeah, I think when I talk about laughing in the face of disaster, if we're out like in a marathon or the Ironman marathon, and just kind of laughing about it. Don't take yourself so seriously, because I think that's what happens, right? I'm sure you can call yourself in jest weak for eating too many cookies, but back in the day, you might have taken that seriously and been like, I am weak, I suck, I'm going to go drink or whatever. I think that's how it goes. Just kind of don't take yourself so seriously, and maybe laugh in the face of like these mistakes, quote unquote mistakes that we make in training, whatever. Don't like put it into your system so deep that you actually start believing that you suck. That's a bad move. Bad move. You're just weak. We're all weak, man.
True. We're all weak about
deal. Something. We're all just trying to be humans and figure this shit out. So
listen, we are all just trying to not eat the whole bag of chips and salsa.
100%. Just lock them in the trunk.
That's it. That's it. Lock them in the trunk. Hope you enjoyed today. Hope you have a great weekend. Good luck to everyone doing races this weekend. Most of them are run races, I would imagine. So good luck. Get out there, have fun, execute, put forth your best effort. And if you're in the Facebook group, be on the lookout. We'll pop in a little bit of a Q&A so you can list those out. We'll get to those next week. But as always, we love you. We appreciate you. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything from Mike, he's available, christianiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Go have a great day.
See you, dude.